The drifting wreck of the Starlight Prayer didn't answer any hails. It just floated, engines cold, power cells flickering like dying stars. Commander Caden Ross of the Earth Federation Navy stared at the massive hologram on his flagship's bridge, lips pressed tight. The hull was scarred in a pattern that only meant one thing: orbital bombardment. No pirate raiders left burns like that. "Boarding team's ready, sir," Lieutenant Hayes said behind him, voice tense. "Radiation levels minimal. No life signs detected, at first glance." Caden nodded. He didn't trust scans. Not in deep space. Not near the fringe where nightmares bred in vacuum and rumor. Minutes later, his boots clanged against the echoing deck of the ghost ship. His squad moved like wraiths, lights cutting through frozen corridors. In the prayer hall, they found the first signs of life. A cluster of fragile, silver-skinned figures huddled beneath the broken dome. Eyes wide, too large for their thin faces, shimmering with bioluminescence. "Calmaris," Hayes whispered. He'd never seen one alive. Few humans had. A young one, barely up to Caden's chest, crawled forward, hands trembling. It pressed its forehead to the floor at his boots. Then he heard it, not words, but a clear thought in his head. "Help us, or all light dies." Caden shivered. Humanity knew the Calmaris as mystics, star readers. "Useless pacifists," the Federation said. "Not worth saving." But standing there in that dead hall, Caden felt the weight of an entire civilization pressing into him through the terrified mind of a child. "Lieutenant, get them to the Resolute Dawn. Medical bays, food, warmth, and everything." Hayes hesitated. "Sir, the brass." "To hell with the brass. Move." Back aboard his ship, Caden met the eldest survivor, a withered being who called itself Orcs. Its voice never moved its lips. It bloomed in Caden's skull like warm rain. "Commander Ross, you are brave to risk your people for mine. But bravery will not stop the Zarkul." "The Zarkul. So it's true," Caden said. He remembered the name from classified files. A warlike empire that tore through lesser worlds like locusts through wheat. Earth's analysts claimed they'd never come this far. But Orunsai's mind showed him cities burning, colonies vaporized, stars turned into traps. Caden clenched his fists. Humanity had survived war with itself, with pirates, with rebels, but they'd never faced a species bred for conquest since birth. "Your people must leave. The fight is not yours." "No," Caden said. "If the Zarkul get to you, they get to us next. I'm not handing them an easy road to Earth." Orunsai's mind pulsed. An image, a vision of thousands of human ships forming a living shield in the dark, standing between the Calmaris and extinction, a path where both survived, or both burned. Caden inhaled sharply. For the first time in his career, he saw humanity not just as survivors, but as guardians of something ancient and wise. Something worth bleeding for. "Tell your people, Oronsai, we're not running. We're fighting with you. But you'll have to show us how to see like you do. How to see tomorrow." Oronsai's eyes shimmered with starlight. "Then let us begin. For tomorrow must have shields, forged today." The Resolute Dawn hung above the ravaged Calmaris moon like a lone candle in a storm. Inside, its corridors pulsed with the energy of an unlikely alliance. Hardened human marines stood guard, while robed Calmaris priests whispered through the metal walls, minds weaving threads of visions and secrets. Commander Caden Ross watched Orunsai lay out crystalline shards across a strategy table in the war room. Each shard glowed faintly, a living map of the Zarkul fleet's probable movements, not guesses, not simulations. True foresight bent and strained through ancient minds who could read the ripples of fate like wind on water. "How certain is this?" Lieutenant Hayes asked, skeptical as always. Orunsai's black eyes met his, no lids, no blinking. "The Zarkul hunt in patterns, Rage makes them predictable. We sense the echoes of their hunger. Caden placed a gauntleted finger on the brightest shard. This is where they strike next. Yes, Commander Ross. Your colony at Proxima 3. If they break it, your people scatter. Your fleets turn inward, divide and consume. Hayes cursed under his breath. Proxima 3 was home to over 1 million souls. Miners, farmers, children. Not soldiers. If the Zarkul came, there'd be no walls strong enough to hold. Then we don't wait for them to strike, Caden said, voice hardening. We take the fight out there. We show the Zarkul what happens when they pick a fight with humans and our new friends. Orunsai tilted his head. You must not fight with brute force alone. The Zarkul are brute force given life. You must be something else, an unexpected storm. And so began the impossible training. The Kalmari's Seers wove small groups of humans into their telepathic trances, forcing soldiers bred for straight lines and hard metal into mind-bending visions of possibility. Marines who once laughed at space magic now found themselves moving in perfect silent teams, anticipating each other's next step without a word. Caden himself sat nights on the observation deck, eyes locked on distant stars, while Orunsai's thoughts bled into him, threads of ancient battles, the rise and fall of stars, strategies written not in tactics, but in the ebb and flow of emotion. Some nights he wept, other nights he laughed at horrors only he could see. And every morning he rose clearer, sharper, more dangerous than the day before. Finally the day came. The dawn's hangars buzzed with restless human pilots and Kalmaris navigators binding their minds together in pods. Fighters that once ran on radar now danced on intuition. Before they launched, Hayes pulled Caden aside. Sir, you sure about this? We're outnumbered 5-1, and we're trusting visions instead of guns. Caden clapped him on the shoulder. Visions and guns, Lieutenant. And the one thing the Zarkul never saw coming, us. Below them, Proxima 3 shimmered in the planet light, a green jewel at stake in a war older than human civilization. Above it, the black ships of the Zarkul broke from hyperspace, like a tide of living knives. Caden's eyes narrowed behind his visor as he gave the word no human in this corner of space had ever dared before. All wings, engage. Show them what tomorrow's shield looks like. Engines flared, shadows clashed with starlight, and for the first time in centuries, a single human voice turned a doomed colony into a fortress of defiance. The first wave of the Zarkul fell like black arrows from a midnight sky. Their needle-like ships cut through the void, driven by primal hate that no treaty could tame. But this time, they didn't find a terrified colony scrambling for shelter. They found a trap woven by human steel and Kalmaris vision. Commander Caden Ross gripped the edges of his assault fighter's cockpit as Orunsai's voice hummed through his neural link. Hold your mind open. Follow not with eyes, but with the pulse beneath thought. Caden's wing twisted sharply, avoiding a spear of plasma that should have ended him. Hayes, 2 kilometers off his port, roared through comms. How in hell did you see that, boss? Caden grinned through sweat. I didn't see. I felt. Behind them, Kalmaris cruisers shimmered in and out of localized cloaks, confusing the Zarkul's predators. Human drone swarms darted in patterns no AI could predict, because they were partially steered by Seers, scattered throughout the fleet, minds braced in trance, seeing a heartbeat ahead in the chaos. On the ground, villagers and miners who once feared even a pirate raid now held the line with makeshift plasma turrets. Overhead, strike teams of Marines dropped from orbit like thunderbolts. Every squad carried pulse beacons that linked them to the Seers. They moved like a single mind, weaving through alleyways, turning ambushes into massacres. From orbit, the Kalmari's High Seer watched it all through the eyes of 1,000 scouts. He whispered into Orunsai's mind, Your humans are stubborn fires. Even the storm cannot snuff them all. Orunsai, aboard Caden's ship, responded calmly. They are more than fire, Elder. They are the storm now. In the thick of battle, Caden's fighter danced a deadly ballet, scraping close enough to enemy hulls that static crackled in his cockpit. He flipped a switch. Railguns spat molten darts at a Zarkul cruiser's weak flank. The beast cracked open like an egg, spilling black flame into the void. A cheer rose through the human comms. "Look at 'em run! They can't hold a line!" But Orunsai's tone cut through the celebration. "Commander, do not trust their retreat. They scatter to reform. This is only the serpent's tail. The head comes now." Sensors screamed. The largest Zarkul dreadnought, a cathedral of writhing black metal, tore itself from hyperspace right above Proxima 3. Its shadow swallowed mountains. It began to charge a core weapon, enough energy to erase the colony in a single pulse. Hayes's voice cracked. "We can't punch through that armor in time. What do we do?" For a heartbeat, the fleet hesitated. Ships drifting, the fragile psychic network wobbled by raw fear. But in that void of doubt, Caden's mind flared like a beacon. "We are the storm. We blind the serpent. We break its eyes." His orders rattled out in sharp bursts. Human fighters dove at the dreadnought's targeting arrays. Kelmaris visionaries overloaded the enemy's psychic scouts with mental static. Boarding pods packed with human marines slammed into hull seams, crackling open bulkheads with focused charges. Inside the beast of metal, human boots stomped alien decks. And for the first time, the Zarkul found themselves prey within their own fortress. In the choking dark, Caden's squad planted the last beacon beside a pulsing core conduit. His helmet HUD flickered as he whispered, more to himself than the fleet. "Tomorrow's shield holds today's fury. Light it up." Above them, the dreadnought's spine cracked with internal detonations, a dawn blooming inside midnight. The Zarkul dreadnought convulsed in orbit, bleeding plasma like a wounded leviathan. Inside its cracking hull, Caden Ross and his squad sprinted down melting corridors. Metal shrieked. Gravity flickered. Orunsai's thoughts steadied them all, his mind a calm river carrying theirs above panic. Do not think of death now. Think only of the path. One step. One heartbeat. Caden slammed his fist on the override hatch. Sparks flew. He dragged Hayes through just as the corridor behind them erupted into a star's birth of fire. Ahead, the last escape pod, half-crushed, flickering lights beckoning like a promise. Outside, the human fleet and Kelmaris guardians hammered the retreating Zarkul. No mercy, no pause, no tomorrow if they failed today. Ground teams broadcast their war cries across the system, so loud that even frightened miners on the edge colonies heard and rose up, guns in trembling hands. In the psychic haze above orbit, the high seers strained to keep sight of the future. Their minds burned with overlapping fates. Victory flickered, so near, so fragile. If the dreadnought core didn't collapse fully, if Caden's beacon failed, the Zarkul could regroup. One last counterattack. Caden knew it too. As he strapped Hayes in beside him, he glanced back at the chaos behind the pod hatch. Orunsai floated cross-legged, as if untouched by gravity or flames. "Get in," Caden barked. Orunsai opened his eyes, ageless pools reflecting all the horror and hope of two worlds. "Commander, my place is here." "Like hell it is. You are the future, Caden Ross. I am only its bridge." A beam groaned overhead. Another explosion rocked the pod. Time unraveled. In that frozen moment, Orunsai reached out, palm to Caden's temple. A whisper of memory and vision poured into human veins. "Carry my people's sight inside your storm. Let the dawn rise again and again as long as your kind draws breath." The hatch slammed shut between them. Caden roared his rage as the pod fired like a cannonball through fire and splintering bulkheads. He watched through a cracked viewport as the dreadnought's heart bloomed, an ancient monster dissolving into sunrise. Behind him, Hayes sobbed and laughed at once. "We did it. We bloody did it, boss." Below, on Proxima 3's battered soil, farmers and miners crawled out from bunkers to find the sky clean, the thunder gone. Among the wreckage, Kalmaris children peered in wonder at human medics patching up both species without question. The High Seer's last transmission drifted into the minds of millions. The storm and the eye are now one. The future stands guarded by the foolish, the fierce, the human. In orbit, surviving warships flickered their running lights in salute as Caden's pod docked. He stumbled out, bloodied but grinning, as the fleet cheered his name, not as a soldier now, but as the symbol of something new. From the ashes of invasion, a promise stood unbroken. Humanity would never kneel to monsters again, and neither would their allies. Among the stars, the Zarkul would whisper of this day, when the prey struck back, shielded by tomorrow itself, and the storm kept moving forward, ready to rise again.